Yeah, duplication is certainly a challenge in the industry. We're seeing more and more fragmentation, which is not new information. There's more platforms, more access to content across multiple partners. From a brand perspective and from a media perspective, it's really on us to identify who the audience is, who we really want to get in front of across screens, and find the right partners to achieve this. More times than not, we need to and want to work with multiple CTV partners for scale, content alignment, really just reach to our core audience segments. But duplication is a challenge. So the way we approach it is really looking at how we set up campaigns at the onset. So really understanding the entire consumer journey across all video platforms, but even beyond video platforms, so we can build the right technology in at the forefront. So when we activate campaigns, we can have better understanding of what that frequency cap or frequency limitations are, and ultimately what frequency is necessary in order to drive the business or drive that engagement with the brand. We also look at areas like ACR. We think that's a really big opportunity to understand exposure to content, to advertising, which again allows us to understand a little more about frequency, so we can be better informed about how we optimize campaigns, and again, what those frequency caps or goals are in order to move the business.
And Dave, tell us about the use of mobile data as a signal in your planning and understanding performance.
Sure. Mobile data is critical with the change of consumer behavior over the last 12, 13 months. We know a lot of consumption has migrated to the mobile platform, whether that's time spent with social channels, video content, really any types of content. We as consumers have been seeking out new things to do as we've been a bit tied down to our homes or to our confined spaces. And the mobile device is really one of the first areas we all lean to find content. And because of that, it captures a lot of data, as we know. So the way we leverage it is really leaning into understanding more around the content affinities, time spent, categories that are really meaningful to our core target audience segments. So we can use some of those signals and some of that information to inform how we show up in other places. And it doesn't necessarily need to be other video places. It could be other contextually aligned outlets. But the mobile data is really critical. I think even looking at it from a basic search perspective, a lot of insights into that, how people are searching on mobile versus desktop. So we use all that information and those signals to help inform how we show up in other places.
Clients are excited about brand engagement across multiple devices, but what are some best cases solutions to that? How do you go about implementing that?
Yeah, great question. And a lot of clients are certainly interested in this. I think they always have been, but as we, again, emerge from the last 12 months, even more critical now to build that consumer experience, understanding a lot of brands are getting back into the marketplace. What we like to do, what I prefer to do, obviously everything is centered around people. It's the idea of building a consumer experience that's customized to people. And with that, you build out a really thoughtful journey. And we work closely with our clients to do this. And why that's important and why that's somewhat of a shift from 2 years ago is we need to work closer with our creative partners, right? Because if we're building out a consumer journey, we need to make sure our messaging and the story we're trying to convey shows up in the right places at the right time, versus what a lot of brands do is they create a suite of assets, and then we build a communication plan or a media plan to deploy those assets, really amplify the campaign. But now, considering how consumption behavior has changed, we have that opportunity to really match the story with where people are in that journey. So if we start with looking at a broader campaign launch, we can build out a really impactful campaign launch strategy, for example. Once we understand their exposure rate 1 to 3 times, 3 to 5 times, we can then follow up across devices with a secondary message or another element of engagement from the brand to bring them into the story and bring them into the brand ecosystem. And I think that's really the opportunity. It creates a lot more work across all partners at the table, because it does require different creative assets. It requires us to tell stories in a very different way. But that's the opportunity. And if you think about it from a consumer perspective, we want value from brands. You will earn our attention as consumers if you provide that value. So if you're telling me a story about why I should care or engage in your brand, and you continue that story with other proof points or rationalization, I'm more likely to stay connected to the brand, ultimately likely moving through the journey to the engagement metric or to the purchase metric that's necessary. And I think that's really critical. And that's how we're starting to evolve our thinking and how we're talking with our clients to evolve their thinking in terms of telling that brand story.